Before we get started with the show, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Atmos Planning, financial planners turning visionaries into meaningful millionaires. Our second sponsor of the day is Planet Duct. Reach out to them for any of your air duct cleaning needs. Now let's get on with the show. Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, the #1 podcast in Colorado Springs. My name is Andrew Hasley, and I am the host of the show. Today we have on Steve Weed with Steve Weed Media. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
So I run and operate Steve Weed Media, which is a video production and live streaming company here in Colorado Springs.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, well, I can't wait to get more into that in this episode, but first we'll run the intro music and then we'll get started. This is a show where we have real conversations with entrepreneurs and business owners who are mostly in Colorado Springs doing things in the community of Colorado Springs. Oh, yeah, we're back. Okay, so, hey, how's it going, man?
Good, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So tell us a little bit about your production business. What got you started? Let's start there. What got you started in video production? Was it when you were, you're from New York.
Yep.
Was it when you were back home or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm originally from New York, like you mentioned, upstate, and my video production experience all came, it was a family business. So my dad used to work for a paper mill. Decided he got tired of working for a living, started his own video production company in the late 80s, early 90s.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up with it, Amiga, Commodore PCs, and like using all these different graphics programs back then. And we were doing a lot of like stock car racing, like NASCAR style production. But this is in the early to mid 90s. So we had 6 cameras around the track, the speed cam, wired everything in, and he was really ahead of his time. We had everything out of a U-Haul.
Okay.
So he retro converted a U-Haul truck to be a production studio. So every camera had a VHS deck for instant replays. We'd run the tapes back. So, I mean, that's what I grew up around.
So he was in the U-Haul operating all the cameras.
Yeah, so then we would just roll the U-Haul to all of our gigs.
Yeah.
It was a little rough around the edges, but it was totally functional, and so people would see he had the big banner on the side of it, so we'd roll up, open the door, pull everything out, connect, away we go, unplug it, and roll away.
That's awesome,
Yeah,
dude.
so that's what I grew up around, so a lot of my experience was really just in the family business. I didn't go to film school. I got a 2-year degree in liberal arts from a local community college. So it's just constantly been teaching and learning and growing on my own.
Yeah. And like that being in like the early 90s and stuff, you needed a whole truck for all the equipment.
Yeah, it's way different. I mean, everything from just tape storage, VHS tapes and, boxes and boxes of tapes, and all the cameras were bigger and the cables were bigger and batteries were bigger. And
you didn't have laptops.
So streaming was a problem. When we started streaming, our first live stream was in the year 2000. We did the Miss New York State pageant.
Wow.
So this was, 4 years before YouTube, 4 years before a lot of this stuff where, people would see it and they're like, oh, it's cool, but it's just a novelty. Nobody's ever going to watch video on the internet. And so that's something that I continue to laugh about to this day, because it was cool. It was a postage stamp size stream. And we were actually using a service called Abacast, which was fully audio-based streaming, and we essentially broke their servers by streaming video to it. They couldn't figure out where all of their data was going.
Yeah.
One outfit in New York was just streaming the crap out of their stuff, and we were just sucking the bandwidth out of their servers. So
for sure,
we had to transition at one point or another, but the tone was set at that point. Like we knew that live streaming was going to be a thing. We were already ahead of the game. I mean, my dad was years ahead of his time.
Sounds like
as far
it.
as just being able to do it, and now everybody's doing it, but it took a lot of stuff to do back then.
Is he still doing video production today?
Yeah, he's not, as gung-ho about it now because he's a little bit older, but he's still producing. I mean, we do a lot of local government back home, high school sports, things like that. So that was a lot of the bread and butter that we were doing when we first started.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing, man. So where are you at? Where are you at now? What is kind of the videos you typically do?
So I mean, right now, a lot of it is live stream based, but I do everything from TV commercials, music videos, business promos, everything in between.
Okay.
And I work with a number of different organizations and businesses here in Colorado and abroad. I do a bit of traveling. I've done a bunch of gigs outside of Colorado. But the niche for me is definitely the multi-camera live streaming events, ESPN style production, 4 or 5 cameras, 2,000 feet of cable, bunch of camera guys, directing, producing the graphics. So that's the kind of experience that I've had. I have years of experience in that industry. So, but everything else too. I mean, I do a ton of business promo videos. I work with the BBB of Southern Colorado as their in-house videographer for a lot of projects.
Nice.
Pikes Peak National Bank, I do all their TV commercials. So a lot of good local businesses as far as, the things that we're doing.
Yeah. So those events, what kind of What kind of cameras, what kind of equipment does that require?
I mean, a lot of it's, it's becoming more and more PC based, but I've been using a TriCaster for a long time,
Okay.
so we started in TriCasters and, now it was a live stream for a long time and now I've kind of transitioned to vMix just based on the needs. And all these different softwares have their strengths and their weaknesses. So it really kind of depends on the project and the event as to what I'm going to use. I use a lot of camcorders. I'm a Sony guy.
Nice.
You got Canons in the
I
studio.
do got Canons, yeah.
But I'm a Sony guy, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But we use a lot of Sony camcorders, just from the recording length perspective and just ease of use. I use the Sony NX100 specifically. They've got 2 XLRs built in, so it's just a great run and gun camera. You can do interviews with it. It's got the 3 lens rings, so you can do all the different kind of DSLR style focus pulls that you want to do. So it's just a really well-rounded piece of equipment, and I've been using those for years.
Yeah. So, question: do you know maybe in OBS or something? How to get the cameras to snap to the person talking? Because we have two audio inputs and 2 cameras and 2 video inputs. So if we can synchronize that, then Marcus wouldn't have to be doing the switches right now.
So you guys aren't able to sync your audio and your video?
Yeah, we might be able to. I've tried to look a little bit, but how do you have you done that before?
My systems automatically sync.
Okay.
So I actually don't have that issue.
Yeah, because vMix I think does that or something like that.
Yeah, we use Blackmagic cards.
Okay.
So when you're using the PCIe cards, a lot of that happens. But I know there's audio settings where you can change the delay amount to adjust to your video. So I would.
Well, the audio and video is delayed and it's synced. It's synced. I don't have sync issues. What I'm saying is, I want it to automatically switch to camera 2 when audio 2 is talking.
I'm sure there's some ways to do
There
that
is.
in OBS. Yeah, I'm not aware of them.
Yeah.
In vMix, you could set up a function key to do that, but.
Yeah, for sure, because I've seen that.
Yeah.
But and also certain hardwares have that built into it. But those hardwares are like $1,000.
Yeah, it gets pretty expensive. I mean,
actually, I think they're like $8,000 probably.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I just was curious about that. Maybe you had some insight on that because it's something that I think would come in handy because you can even have it to where like sometimes the voices overlap. You can have a 3rd camera set up so it switches to that 3rd camera where it's both of the people. And so it's like, I've seen it, I've researched it, I haven't done it yet.
Well, if you did that, you wouldn't need Marcus anymore then.
Yeah. Oh, we would still need him. Yeah. Not for switching though. He could focus on other things. So,
absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. And but yeah, that's just something that I'm constantly pushing the show, innovating it. It didn't have this Rodecaster at first. It didn't have the 2 cameras. It was 1 camera, and the first 2 episodes didn't even have cameras. So,
well, that's progress.
Yeah,
Progression.
For sure. So with your business, when did you bring it to Colorado Springs? Did you start it here in Colorado Springs?
Yeah, so I was working with my dad in New York, and it just kind of got to the point where, we were kind of moving at different speeds. He had already established a business, was at the end of his career. I was just getting started at a family that I'm trying to build and, make something of my own self. And so we just looked at different places that we thought we might want to live. And we decided on Colorado Springs just kind of based on a few different factors. But it was just a really good Goldilocks zone of like the weather was good. At the time, it was a little bit cheaper. It's gone up since then. But just the environment for starting a business was ripe. So I talked to the wife and I have to give her a ton of credit because without her, I would not be here. Okay. She held me down through all the tough years that when I started, but, we just packed up, sent it, came here, had nothing lined up, didn't have any gigs, knew nobody, just knew that I had enough ambition for 2 people and I was going to make it happen. And that's what I did.
Yeah. And so you came out here, did you have any experience starting a business before?
Nope.
Okay.
Didn't go to business school, didn't run my own business. Some of it's common sense to, just kind of being business savvy. And I felt like I've always had the knack of meeting the right people. And that's another thing that kind of happened out here is I just happened to stumble into the right people. But when I started, everything that I do is just based on how I would want to be treated or how I would want my business to be run if I was doing business with myself. So I always try to keep that in mind as the client. And things have been working really good using that model so far. I mend well with a lot of different clients that I have. people will hire me, and I kind of just immediately fit right into their employee structure.
Nice.
You know, and I take pride in that because every client's different, and I have to try to work with everybody.
What does that mean, fitting right into their employee structure?
So a lot of my clients will tell me that they feel like I'm a part of their team.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
You know, when I'm working with them, they feel like I'm just another employee, but I'm not. You know, I'm coming in, I'm a vendor, I'm a third party.
Yeah,
So that's something that I really take pride in, is fitting in, making them feel comfortable, and I get a lot of repeat business from it.
Yeah, that's the partnership. I mean, that's how you sustain long term, I think. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, I came in here in 2016, and I just really started hitting Craigslist, Indeed, Monster.
Really? Okay.
Constantly. I mean, it was
those
obsessive.
are 3 avenues that I don't even focus on.
It was just anything that I could get that somebody would let me pull my gear out and use, whether it was paid or not. I was doing it. So I was taking gigs all the way up in Breckenridge.
Okay.
You know, a couple $100.
I did that. I did that when I first moved out here. Actually,
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple $100 literally. But you
Yep.
know, I was just like a production assistant though on set. So it was cool.
So I mean, it was all of that grunt work of just, you know, is this, you know, and you always have those thoughts. Is this going to work out? Did I make a mistake? You know,
yeah,
I mean,
no, for sure.
You're out here doing things for peanuts, and you know that it's worth more, and you're using thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and you're not charging anything for it.
How'd you get past that?
Well, I mean, I just kept going. That's how, you know, it was just, when you get to that point where you're so far from where you're from and you have nobody out here to rely on, your back's against the wall, and it's like you have no choice but to make it work.
For sure.
You know, so my big break really was, you know, I connected with Colorado College Athletics. You know, I happened to send them an email saying, hey, I've got all this gear. I just want to work my way up from the bottom. I just want a chance. I'll do whatever you have.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the
so
mindset.
that wasn't just, you know, let me come in and start producing your hockey games. It was just, let me do whatever it takes to get my foot in the door. And they just happen to have a position where it's like, well, we could use a live stream producer. You know, so that immediately gave me validity as a business, where people would be like, oh, you work with Colorado College? They're a tough nut to crack. They're a very prestigious college. You know, so they're one that I'm proud of. We've been working with them for almost 4 years. And my responsibilities with them have grown exponentially every year. When we came on, the hockey games were being streamed with one camera, basic graphics. Now we're doing multiple camera shoots, instant replays, professional style graphics, stinger transitions, in-game video content, the whole shebang.
That's exciting, dude.
Yeah, so you can see, you know, from the point that I got brought in to the point where we're at now, it's a tangible increase in production value. So that's something that I can show, where it's like, well, what has Steve been doing the last few years? Here's the proof. Look at where we started and look where we're at now. And that's like that for every client that I work with.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And like that, you mean the growth?
The growth, just, you know, taking things one step at a time, you know, that, you know, we can't just go from where we started in 2017 to now, but it's like every year you just mention the things that you want to add into the next year. It's, hey, you know, this is great. We added cameras, but let's add commercials next year. Oh, now we're doing advertisements. Now we're making money off sponsorships. You know, I mean, and then the ball really gets rolling and they start to see the value.
Because if
in
you
what
can
we're
help
doing.
them grow, then they can help you grow.
My famous line is, I don't expect my clients to pay for it. I expect them to help me sell it.
Okay.
I mean, all of these live streams and anything that has worthy content should be covered through advertisements, sponsorships, or emails or something. There's so much value in what people are producing, but nobody's taking advantage of the monetary side. They're just streaming it for free, which is fine, you know, if that's what you want to do. But content like that, you know, anything sports related,
For
MMA
sure.
especially, I mean, it's a proven product. I mean, look at boxing and MMA. People are willing to pay $50, $60 a ticket.
Yeah. And
I mean-
Facebook now allows you to have a paywall on your events. They allow you to literally, in the Facebook event, buy a ticket for your online events. Like,
Exactly. So, I mean, that's kind of the direction that I'm pushing everything. So you do an event one year and you have some good analytics. You package that up as a marketing thing and you send it out. Now you have an ROI. Now you actually have a tangible amount of, you know, value to your stream. And, you know, the value of that's based on how many people have seen it and the metrics and all of that. But a lot of clients just don't know. They just don't know that what they're producing is actually a money-making machine rather than an expense.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that I like to, that I've noticed that I've had to let people know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I do as a videographer is, you know, just letting people know. A video production company specifically is letting people know the value. A lot of people, they don't understand the value. A lot of people still don't even understand the value of social media. So
Totally. That's true.
yeah, so it's cool. So you've been doing this business and you've established yourself here in Colorado Springs. What let's go outside of the business a little bit. What else do you like doing? I haven't asked this question before. Do you like doing other things besides video?
Yeah, I do. Believe it or not, I don't work 24/7, even though it somewhat feels like it, running your own business. I've got a Harley, ride a motorcycle, skateboarder. So I skateboard,
Nice.
produced.
You do look like you got the skateboard physique, dude.
Yeah. Nobody. Yeah. But yeah. So skateboarding, riding the bike, getting outdoors. I mean, one of the other reasons we like Colorado is, the outdoor stuff being in New York. The winters are terrible. It's feet of snow instead of inches of snow.
For sure.
The lake effect.
Especially upstate New York.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we get feet of snow and only get a couple hour delays. Out here, like, things would completely shut down. We giggle. It's like 4 or 5 inches and everything's down here. But back home, it's like just a dusting.
For sure.
So we're, very thankful for that. But those are the big things, spending time with the wife and my dog. My wife, Susie. That's really a lot of where I spend my time. But yeah, my skateboarding roots, one of the big gigs that I did do that I'm really proud of is the Clash in Claremont. It was Tony Hawk, Andy McDonald, some big names. I got to fly out 2 of my best friends to California for a week to set this whole thing up. We did skater cross, vert, street, BMX biking, all in the same day.
And that was a video production gig?
It was an 8-hour live stream broadcast,
Oh, wow.
X Games style. Yeah. So, but that was that's the dragon that I'm chasing, that event. Because right after that, the pandemic hit and all the steam that we had really gotten going with them came to a crashing halt. The pandemic was a very interesting time for me, that's for sure.
Yeah, events obviously were down, but you had all these live streaming skills.
Yeah.
Did you put that into play at all?
Well, I mean, it was tough in the beginning because, being event-based, there was nowhere to put those skills. The majority of my work was sports-based.
Yeah.
So CC went down. All of my semi-pro football went down. My traveling football team that I'm the media director for went down. AFE USA, shout out to them. Coach G is the man.
Coach G.
Coach G. But yeah, so I mean, those first few months of the pandemic, I was doing nothing, so I was shifting my energy and staying busy. And I tried to launch a pay-per-view style website, which I was just a few months late on because Facebook did their own, which we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I tried to launch mine in April and they launched theirs like 2 weeks before. So I just tried to stay busy, but then I started getting calls from corporate places like, hey, we had these events. They were like a luncheon or they were, some kind of in-person event that we still want to hold. What can we do? And that really sparked my virtual event production side of my business. Before that, I wasn't doing anything like that. But since then, I've done 12, I think,
Nice.
12 or 13 virtual events. I did one in March for Project Cure, which is out of Denver. And I'd never met the people that I worked with in person. It was all through Zoom. From getting the gig to producing the gig. Cindy McCain was the keynote speaker. We raised $75,000 for their organization.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was a great success, but it's opened the doors for me to continue to work from anywhere with anyone at any time. I could be in an RV in the middle of a park as long as I have good gigabit speeds.
Yeah.
I'm producing events. And then you can tie in announcers and everybody else.
How do you get the good gigabit speeds? I've been trying to get in. I'm not trying to get in, but I've been playing around with the live streaming events, doing 1 million cups and whatnot. And live streaming, that's not my niche. But I'm developing it as one.
Yeah.
But and learning all these things and all these extra things and burning out a video card and so one thing I noticed last week in the middle of the stream, the signal, the service just cut, and I was like, whoa! If I was getting paid for this gig, that would suck.
Yeah, man.
How do you get those speeds? I have 5G now with this phone, but
yeah, I don't use Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I would start there. You hardwire everything if you're doing live streams. And it's a pain in the butt. You got to run the cable wherever. Could
all the way to the server in the back room,
wherever it is. 100 feet, 200 feet, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you want reliability. The other thing you do is everything's redundancy in my world. You have a plan A, B, and C. And you have to have that redundancy. Even now, I'm taking. If I'm doing a 1-camera shoot, I'm bringing 2. It's how I roll now. I've been burned. I've made mistakes. I did a gig when I first moved here. I did a gig in Denver. It was a lacrosse tournament. It was a 3-day tournament. The first 2 days went fine. The last day, and they're early. They started at 7 a.m. So I was leaving town at 4:30 to get up there, set up, do the first game. Last day, I get up there, didn't even have my gear. Literally left it sitting by the door, so I wouldn't forget it.
I learned that in construction.
Yeah,
because
man.
if you drive 30 minutes to a site and you forget even one drill bit or one thing, you have to go all the way back.
Yeah, and there was no going back, and I had no gear, and I didn't. So that
because the event was already starting. Right?
Oh yeah, it was. Never got a call back from them. Don't blame them. Sorry again for,
the
client that if they ever come across this, but it was a learning experience. Redundancy is key. It's like you have to have a backup plan, especially with internet, because quite frankly, it could not be your fault, but if you're the producer, they're going to blame you.
No, for sure. Exactly.
So it's in this technology stuff, it's like it's out of our control. Xfinity could go down at any moment for any reason. We have no control over that, but you got to have a backup plan, and the other thing you can look into, which I won't get into too much because it's pretty technical, but Google bonded streaming.
Google bonded streaming.
Bonded streaming. Just start looking into that. That'll help you out.
You can get into it if you want, because we could clip that and it could be a highly searchable thing. It could blow up.
Well, bonded streaming just allows you to take multiple streams of bandwidth and combine it into one super stream. So you have maybe 3 mediocre bandwidths. You maybe have a Verizon, an AT&T, and then maybe a local Wi-Fi.
Okay, it composites them essentially. Okay.
Combines them into one strong. It uses, basically that's what it does. So I would look into that. I'm not sure if OBS
will it switch to the one, like the best one at the best time, or
it depends on what you're using for a service. I mean, you can get hardware that's pretty expensive, a couple grand, but then you're getting top quality speeds wirelessly anyway, and then you're just buying the cards. So I would look into that. But I mean, definitely. I would hardwire, and then you adjust your bandwidth settings. So if your bandwidth's weaker, your output streaming bandwidth should be lower too. So if you're getting 5 megs up, your upload speed's what you use for streaming. So your download doesn't matter. So if your upload's 5 and you've got your bandwidth set to 4.5 or whatever the Facebook default is, you have no room for that ceiling, like if you're going to peg it. So you should probably cut your bandwidth in half. Stream it at a 2 megabit per second.
That's one thing I did last week. I thought it was because how many megabytes I was streaming, because I had it all the way up to 6, and because I seen somewhere on the internet, anywhere from like 3 to or something like 3 to 8, is good enough quality, quality. So I had it at 6, and then I brought it down to 4.5,
But you got to do the speed test, if you don't know. If the Wi-Fi
I did do the speed test.
And then when people show up, if it's an open network, people show up and they automatically connect, especially at 1 million cups where it's a lot of the same people.
Everyone connected and shut it off.
Oh, yeah. That's why you hardwire.
Yes.
Password protected. If it's Wi-Fi, it's got to be password protected.
I was thinking about using the 5G on my phone next week because I speed test it and it runs like over 100 megabytes per second, something like that, or around there. Actually, it's close to like 80, something like that, I think, now that I remember.
Yeah, you live and you learn, man.
Yeah. And it was cool, though. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's not my main bread and butter doing events. So it's like, I don't even probably have all the proper hardware, I innovated a little bit on some things, because the way 1 million cups is, there's 6 minutes of a speech and then 20 minutes of Q&A.
Yeah.
So to figure, instead of having the one camera on just the guy the whole time, I put a wide angle on a second camera and put it to my laptop. And anytime, I would be like a ninja, dude. I'd be like, turn up the second, because I had an audience mic and an audience camera. I'd be like, I'd take the camera over here and just switch it in OBS and then flip and then switch this and
I love that, though. I love that. I didn't have all the right gear at one point, and I did a football tournament last year in Florida where I was running the camera, doing the switching, controlling a replay and the game clock and calling the game.
Yeah, you're doing lots of jobs at once.
So it's just sometimes that's part of the territory. But that's what gives you value, when your client can just say, well,
for sure,
we don't need to know how he makes it work, but when he comes, it works and it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you get some gray hairs because of it, but you get the job done, so that's all that matters.
I attribute the willingness and wanting to do all those actions per second, essentially, to playing StarCraft. Because you got to go like this.
If it was a PS4 controller, we'd both be crushing it.
Yes, exactly. For sure, man. So with your business, where do you want to take it?
Well, this time last year I was looking for a studio and looking to try to expand, and then the pandemic hit, so I've been working out of the house before it was cool. Where everybody's working from home and they're talking about, it's like, I'm trying to get out of the house, like I want to get out into the world and start, get a studio space because I'm outgrowing where I'm at. I'd like to take the business to a place where I don't have to do all the work anymore, because I shoot, I edit, I have my drone license.
Same.
I'm doing everything.
Well, not drone license yet. I actually was looking at drones last night. I think I'm going to get a drone license.
Yeah, so I've had my drone license since 2016 too, but all of the business stuff, you know, all the mundane things like setting things up and curling the cables at the end of the day and like doing the invoices and all the proposals and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't want to do all that forever. Like, it's fine. I love what I do, but I want to produce, you know, I want to be a producer. So if I can get people on staff to like take care of that and then compensate them fairly and give them a chance to like pursue their dreams in a stress-free, friendly environment, that's what I'd like to create. And I've got ideas, you know, I've got ideas for a nonprofit. I've got ideas for other things that I want to pursue. And I can't do those things if I'm just constantly shooting and editing videos all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I love to do it, but
Same,
at a certain point, it's like I want to oversee and just kind of like do the fun gigs. I work with a football organization called AFE USA, and we travel. You know, in 2019, I was in Mexico twice.
Nice.
San Diego.
Is that something you love doing?
Yeah, but it's just, you know, that's what the kind of stuff that we do. That's where it can take you. You know?
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm going there and working. You know, I spent 11 days in Cancun for work, paid.
Yeah.
You know, and those are the opportunities that in the video production realm that you get because that's what people need. And that's, you go where the jobs are.
Yeah.
So I want to give somebody else those opportunities. I'm not going to be able to go on all these trips all the time. You know, but I still need to continue and have a business where I can, if a client calls me right now, I'm, you know, double booking and scheduling is a problem. You know, I'm busy. I'm booked.
Sure.
You know, I've already got stuff booked for next year.
Nice.
So it's just one of those things where, you know, I'd like to be able to do more than one gig at once.
How are you going to do that?
I got to hire.
How are you going to do that?
I'm not quite sure yet.
Same.
That's you know, that's the struggle. It's like some weeks I can have enough for 5 people, and then other weeks, you know, it's not so much. Lately, it's been trending more and more to where like I could almost.
Well, if you ever
bring
go
in
to Cancun again, hit me up.
well, you know, I mean, that's the kind of thing where I'm, you know, eventually I'm going to need somebody to go for me.
For sure.
They're not all in Cancun, but they're all fun. They're all great places, and it's
Well,
a
I
great
like traveling.
organization.
I like traveling as well. So
yeah, and you know, you get to do a lot. You know, and it's a great way to meet people and broaden your horizons. And it's challenging as a producer to go to these places where you can only bring so much gear. You don't have everything that you're normally having here in the States.
You got to get the DJI Mini, bring that with you, put it in your pocket.
Yeah. But, you know, so, I mean, there's a video that I did. It's called Impact with AFE, which is one of my more proud videos. And it was one of the ones that I sent you when we had first emailed. But
Nice.
It's a 20-minute video. It's a 20-minute edit. I did all the interviews. I did everything. But it's a complete mini documentary where if you were to look at it, you'd probably think a team of people were involved.
Nice.
Just because of the scope of it. And I had zero help. From the narrative.
Imagine what you could do with a team.
Well, that's kind of where I'm going. It's like, you know, I want to have somebody to bounce ideas off of and brainstorm and like get things going. And there's days where like I'm in a funk and it's like I need somebody to kind of pick up my slack. And I don't have that.
I get it.
So
I get it. Maybe we should talk after the show. Maybe we can help each other out.
I think we probably could.
Yeah,
you know, when I first moved here, it was looking at everything like competition. And that's the wrong way to look at it. It's collaborative.
Yes, it is.
You know, we've both been coexisting here and not knowing we both existed, and we've both been able to make something.
And I know like 6 other videographers who are making something.
Right, that's what I mean. So there's enough here. The pie is big enough in Colorado Springs for multiple videographers and producers to succeed and thrive, really. It's not even,
for sure.
Like I say, I'm not lacking for work. I mean, I always can take more, but it's just one of those things where I'm able to keep my lights on and pay my bills just through my own effort.
Yeah.
And have been doing that. And others can do the same thing. So I think looking at it as a competitive thing where it's like, well, I don't want to help them. They've got their own clients. Like, exactly. Why wouldn't you want to help them? They've got their own clients. They're not cutting into yours.
And their clients chose them for them, not for you. You know?
Exactly. So I think the collaborative effort, you know, and there's things that other people do. Like, just for example, like I'm not the greatest graphic designer. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my
I love
forte.
graphic design. So
I do it because it's necessary where it's like you need graphics, you do it, fine. But that's something where it's like I have a guy, he's a great graphic designer. He's going to help out and make it even better. So now my work is becoming improved because I'm bringing other people in.
Exactly.
So I think, you know, to answer that initial question, where do I want it to go? That's where I want it to go. I mean, I've taken it as far as I can take it from a quality level. You know, I'm buying gear, I'm improving in those areas, but you can only do so much. You know, I can't be the best motion graphic designer and the best Photoshop editor and the best editor.
That's why I'm creating a comedy division in my production company. Because I want
Exactly.
someone to write jokes for the videos.
Right. You know, so I mean, that to me would be the best case scenario. It's like, let me get a small team of creative individuals that we can collaborate, shoot ideas off of, and then help each other out on bigger events or like just events that we need the assistance with.
Exactly.
Because I've got stuff coming where I'm going to need a team.
Yeah. Well, sweet. Let me know about that, man.
Yeah, we'll have to talk after this for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So, is there anything specific you'd like to promote today on this episode?
I mean, no. I mean, I guess I'd just, maybe just like to shout out some of the people that I've worked with that have kind of helped me get here.
Camera 2.
Yeah, Camera 2. CC Tigers have really helped me out. CS Philharmonic, Pikes Peak National Bank, AFE has been a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Without some of those clients, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I have to thank John O'Schwan, Rocky Mountain Rampage. He's a local. He gave me the first shot at a big event when I moved here.
Nice.
And he had no reason to. I didn't know anybody. I had no resume built, but he just got a good vibe and gave me a chance. And that gave me the opportunity. That opened so many doors for me. That one event. It was a skateboarding event in 2017.
Nice.
So I got to thank Jono and thank all of my clients. Whether I mentioned you or not, appreciate it. But I'm just very thankful to be in the position that I am in.
That's good.
And to be able to do what I love to do and support my family. Those are really the things that you've got to take away. One of the things that I'm not great about is giving myself credit. I'm very hard on myself.
Okay.
I'm a perfectionist. But sometimes you got to take a step back and just say, where did we come from? My first year here, I made under $15,000. So,
that seems like a typical story that I hear with videographers that I've known.
Yeah.
The first year they're not making really much, but they're making something, and that's exciting. My first year was similar to that, and it was still like, holy cow, I brought in thousands of dollars with my video production,
yeah, you're doing it, and it's like, it is possible. I look back and I was so naive to the size of the city, to what I was taking on, to what I was trying to achieve. I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I just sent it. I just did this thing. And, there's just all the little stuff that I'm like, the website, the promotion. And my dad probably thought I was crazy. He probably thought I was going to be back in 6 months. But, it is what it is. Sometimes you got to take that chance and, take a step back and really appreciate what you've done, where you were, where you're going. So that's kind of the theme for this year, especially after the pandemic. We all survived something in the business world. I mean, anybody that had their business continue should be proud of themselves, because it's something that none of us knew how to navigate. None of us had experienced in the past. It's not like you could call somebody, hey, remember that last pandemic? How'd you get through? It's like, we are all just winging it. So if you survived and you made it through, I mean, props to you. You were doing something right. And I think a lot of us are stronger because of it. Yeah. All of the clients that I had for virtual events are still with me going into this year. Plus all my sports are back. And I had a good year last year. So, I mean, it's one of those things where the ball is really rolling now. And as weird a way as it was, it opened a lot of doors for me. Yeah. From a business standpoint, it was good. Yeah. For me. Even though initially it was not.
Yes, some industries were boosted up. Some industries were completely wiped out. Yeah.
And, the first 6 months was terrible. I mean, I wasn't good, but, things, you just keep moving forward. Yeah. And that's all you can do.
Nice. All right. You heard it here first by Steve Weed. All right. Thank you for coming on the show, man. This has been amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people find you?
All the social medias are at Steve Weed Media. And then you can find me steveweedmedia.com. You can email me at steve@steveweedmedia.com. I'm not sure if you're noticing a trend here. Yeah. But yeah, pretty much Steve Weed Media, anything, and you can find me.
All right, man. It's good to get in the weeds with you today.
That's right.
All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode. This has been the COS Business Podcast. Bye-bye. All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, man.
Hey, thanks. Hopefully it was all right.
No, I think it was great, man. That's good. We have a very similar start, and very similar paths.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, it's cool to kind of talk about what we're doing and where we're going.
Yeah.